This week's episode of Trek Geeks is brought to you by Fansets, the place for amazing pin collectibles. They have close to 200 officially licensed Star Trek pins to choose from, with new pins coming out every month. See all the pins and collectibles they have to offer at fansets.com, and stay tuned for this week's special Trek Geeks discount code. Fansets. We are Star Trek.
This is J.G. Hertzler, General Martok on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and you are listening to the biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant. It's the Trek Geeks podcast with Bill Smith and Dan Davidson.
From a distant moon, inside a cave that it took the Starfleet Corps of Engineers 10 months in spacesuits to tunnel out. It's the biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant and the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Trek Geeks Podcast. I am your co-host, Bill Smith, and thank you so much for being with us this week and for downloading the podcast. We're very excited to have you here because today we're going to talk about two of the greatest hours in Star Trek history. I'm not going to lie. And of course, when I say we, I do mean my illustrious co-host and myself. You know, there's a scene in this movie where the antagonist takes a couple of worms and slides them around inside a helmet and puts them on the guy's head. I actually would do that to my co-host if I could, simply just to drive him mad, because that's exactly how he makes me feel every time he opens his mouth. He is the largely torturable Dan Davidson, and Dan... this is City Alpha 5!
Wait, hi. First of all, hi. It's great to
Hi.
see you. I sounded like Ellen there for a second.
Yeah, you kind of did.
Hi. Okay.
Hi.
I'm a little confused. We were going to talk about two of the greatest hours in Star Trek history. I thought that was Sub Rosa and Aquiel, but you're talking about something else. So I'm a little confused.
Yeah. No, only if Robert Reyes is writing the schedule. Love you, Robert.
No, it's great. It's great to be here. This is a conversation I am looking very much forward to. We've talked about this a lot. We've had people on around the holidays to talk about their memories with this movie. And as we said last week in the teaser, it's considered the greatest of the Star Trek films. So this week, buddy, you and I are going to talk Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
At the end of the universe lies the beginning of vengeance. Oh. You know, I actually have a 1983 lobby poster from Wrath of Khan framed, or matted and framed. It is not currently hanging in my house because I need more wall space, but it's hung in my home ever since I've been an adult. I got it was the first thing I ever bought on eBay. Back in like 99.
Interesting.
And it came from a movie theater in Iowa. They were selling a whole bunch of posters that they had found, you know, in a closet somewhere. And one of them was an original Wrath of Khan lobby poster. It is folded like the posters of that era used to be, because they used to ship in manila envelopes. And it is one of my favorite things in the world. I tell you what.
That's so funny, because one of the first things I remember ever buying was in relation to Star Trek II. And I was at an antique car show with my dad, and we were in Canada. And I went across the street from the hotel to like a pharmacy or like just like a little store. And they had Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, the novelization. And it's one of the first things I ever bought in my life with Canadian money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I read it.
That novelization by Vonda McIntyre, who recently passed, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the greatest Star Trek novelizations of all time. Yet we digress. We're going to get into more of this later.
Okay.
In the meantime, Dan,
sorry,
how might our fellow Star Trek fans tell us their feelings about Star Trek II?
Well, it's so easy to get in touch with us. Just head right on over to trekgeeks.com/contact, and there you will find a variety of ways to get in touch with either Bill or myself. You can leave us a voicemail. You can Skype chat us. You can fill out the contact form and type us out a personalized message, or you can click on that big, giant, bright blue button on the right-hand side of the website and leave us a message with your very own mellifluous voice using SpeakPipe. And don't forget, the place to be on Facebook these days is the official Trek Geeks Facebook group, Camp Kittimer. Bring your Trek talk, your Trek pics, and your Trek love over to the site and join over 1,400 other friends to talk all things Trek. It is the place on social media where the Trek talk is always positive, with no bashing or gatekeeping allowed. Plus, if there are new announcements about the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, you're going to see them first in Camp Kittimer before anyone else in the quadrant. To join the group, just head on over to facebook.com/groups/Camp Kittimer and be ready to be part of a truly wonderful social experience. And as always, we want to give a big thanks to our wonderful admins, Haley, Jackie, and Dan, for all of the amazing job they do running the camp. But Bill, remember that any comments or messages you leave us in any of these places may be used in a future episode.
We've got to get out of here. Hurry. I almost said it like Schwarzenegger because that's, you go ahead. You may as well do it.
We've got to get out of here. Get out of here. Everybody down. Get in the chopper.
Can you imagine if Schwarzenegger was Khan? What would that sound like?
Oh my God. I shall leave you as you left me, and that's how you left her. Marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive. Buried alive. Wow.
Oh my God, I can't breathe.
Oh God.
Stop it. Dan, it's time for the news from TrekNews.net.
Dun, 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 dun.
Spanning the Alpha Quadrant.
Dun, 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 dun.
For Alta News. On Alta Star Trek, yo.
Dun, 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 dun.
Stop it. It's TrekNews.net.
Dun, 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 to pump you up. I've never had you do this before. This is great.
Online at TrekNews.net. Come on, we're a serious show. Stop it. Oh, God. Oh, sorry, everybody. Oh, I've got tears streaming down my face. That was
really
awesome.
Does, people. He really does.
Oh, first up, Dan. April is an important month in Star Trek history. April 5th, 2063 is, of course, First Contact Day, as we mentioned in the outtake, which people will hear later. And on April 16th, 2161, the NX-01 was launched, the Enterprise. But now, Dan, we can add another day in April that marks a significant day in Star Trek lore.
Absolutely, we can, Bill. Write down the date, people. Monday, April 22nd, 2019. What is the significance of this date, you may ask? Well, it is the day that filming of the yet unnamed Picard Star Trek series began filming. Very excited about this. Executive producer Michael Chabon sent out a photo on Instagram of his chair with the caption, "First Day." So it's happening, folks. It's real, and I can't wait for that first trailer and the title for the new show, Bill. Hopefully we'll see that soon. I have a feeling we'll see stuff at STLV, and I'm very excited. It is, cameras are rolling. That thing that snaps down, that was going on Monday, and I think that's very cool.
The slate?
Yeah.
It does what? Like a pencil.
Exactly.
I almost kind of hope they don't name it. I would love to call it the Unnamed Picard series for the rest of its life.
That's awesome. That would be very cool. Star Trek : nothing.
Blank.
Exactly. It could be like a match game thing.
Bounce.
Wow, we are really off the rails.
Oh, we really are. It's all your fault too. Oh my God. I'm very excited that they've started filming. You're right. This almost guarantees that we're going to see something by way of a teaser, either at San Diego Comic-Con or also at Star Trek Las Vegas. I imagine they'll debut it at San Diego, but they have to bring it to STLV. They just absolutely have to. And I can only hope that Sir Patrick makes an appearance as well.
Oh gosh, everybody who remembers what happened last year when that door opened and he walked out to announce that Jean-Luc Picard will be back, the place went berserk. And I gotta think that the executive at CBS realized how important it is to do something like that at Vegas, where it's 100% Star Trek related. So here's hoping. Yeah,
I think there's a big plus to doing something like that in front of the home team, if you will. San Diego Comic-Con is an event that everybody follows. I mean, all the websites and all the outlets report on what happens at SDCC, but there's nothing like making a huge announcement before the home team.
Absolutely.
Because we saw what happened when they announced Patrick Stewart. The place really was just in pandemonium.
I've never heard just throngs of people cheering like that at STLV before. It was a moment I will never forget.
Well, also, Dan, for those of you who may not have loved what happened in the finale of Star Trek Discovery's second season, like you, you might want to check out a new comic book coming from our friends at IDW.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. A new 3-issue series called Star Trek Discovery Aftermath will tackle events just after the finale of Discovery Season 2. Now, for those of you who have not seen the finale, we're not going to give away any spoilers, but this new series is described by the publisher as, quote, "In the aftermath of the 2019 finale, everything in Discovery has changed. And as Laurel and Pike try to negotiate a fragile peace, Spock finds himself grappling with the fallout from what happened with Michael Burnham and the mysteries about her still left to unravel." End quote. That was pretty nice. Look for the new comic series this August at your local comic book store or online. IDW has done this before. They've had a couple of series about Discovery, and they have been fantastic reads. So I definitely am going to add this to my Kindle or my whatever my online comic book app is. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see this because I'm interested to see where they take this story. The older I get, the less I care about what's canon and what's not. I want good stories told well. And I kind of like where they're springing off from here. I think that this 3-issue series could be really fascinating, and I'm super looking forward to it.
It's really the only one thing that when I read this, I'm like, oh, that's too bad, is it's only going to be 3 episodes or three books.
Issues?
Yeah, 3 issues. I'd love it if it was longer, like maybe a 12-parter or something like that. But hey, I'll take what I can get. Discovery's off the air for the next year, so keep it coming, baby.
Amen to that. And finally, Dan, we reported last week that Jonathan Frakes has been slated to direct 2 episodes of the new Picard series and 2 episodes of Discovery Season 3. And in a recent interview, he kind of had a couple of interesting things to say.
Yeah, the more I read about this guy, the more I love him, Bill. In a recent interview on TrekMovie.com, he stated that he believes that TNG should have kept going beyond All Good Things, which is kind of neat. He said, quote, "I'm not convinced the series finale is the end of stories we could have told with that family on the Enterprise. I'm not sure if it had 21 seasons of Law and Order SVU in it, but it certainly had more to come," end quote. So I think that's kind of cool. He actually referenced that his good friend Marina Sirtis also agrees with that. And additionally, the highly respected actor and director said that regarding the rumors of a Tarantino Star Trek film, that he was, quote, "very, very excited about the possibility of working with Quentin Tarantino," end quote. So that's very interesting as well. And finally, Franks thinks that episodic television may be the way to go with Trek moving forward. As he said, quote, "The episodic style has been so good for the franchise, and I am sure some of this has to do with the fact that I have been in movie jail. I did 3 successful movies and 1 massively unsuccessful movie, and I've been in movie jail ever since. I'm very grateful to be working on television. I also think that television is the medium now for new ideas," end quote. I love that last line, Bill. We've been talking all season, or for 2 seasons now with Discovery, that episodic television, it's like watching a movie in your living room because the quality has been so great. And it's good to see someone with such a Star Trek background kind of thinks the same thing, because we're not sure when or if there's going to be another Star Trek movie. So to have someone like Frakes behind the camera doing episodes of Picard and Discovery makes me feel pretty good.
Well, and, it seems like movies are so unimaginative and uninspiring these days.
Yeah.
With the exception of something like Avengers Endgame, movies all seem to be just things we've already seen before. And I think that most of the chances, like he says, are being taken on television. And I applaud that, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. I think it's a medium that lets stuff burn in more. And I think that's really what's exciting. You can't do Discovery, I think, is just a 2-hour film. I think it has to be a 13 to 14 hour sort of book, if you will, for television. And I think that allows them to explore many more ideas. So I'm very excited by that. I'll be happy when if there are more Star Trek movies, but I agree with them. I think episodic has been very successful for Star Trek, and that's where it should be right now.
Very much agree.
Well, Dan, here we are, taking time during the show to talk about our very dear friends at Fansets. And as always, we want everyone to head on over to their site and take a look at just the fantastic array of pins and accessories they have, from Star Trek to Alien and coming soon, Big Bang Theory and Supernatural and others. There are pins for just so many different franchises that we all love. Yes, even Firefly. I know you're a big fan. Plus, if you want to catch up on all the latest news with Fansets, you got to check out their blog at fansets.com/blogs/news.
It's a great site because every month they talk about all the pins that are coming out with every genre and every franchise. So definitely want to check that out. It's a great place to get all the details on those monthly pin releases. And Bill, speaking of monthly releases, we want to remind everyone that for the month of May, for Star Trek fans, you can look forward to Space Station K7 from the TOS classic Trouble with Tribbles, because Tribbles are not dangerous. And that's coming out on May 1st. And then on May 15th, you can add everyone's favorite genetically engineered doctor, Julian Bashir, to your collection. Both pins will be available to purchase at fansets.com. And as always, as a special bonus to Trek Geeks listeners, if you want to take 15% off your entire order at fansets.com this week, even if you order non-Star Trek stuff, simply enter the word sacrifice at checkout. That's all capitals and no spaces. This code will be available until midnight on Sunday, April 28th, 2019 at midnight Eastern Daylight Time. So don't delay.
Fansets. We are Star Trek, and we thank our friends at Fansets for sponsoring this week's episode. Dan.
Bill.
Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I can't say those words without smiling. Because
you are smiling.
Since I know, right? Because since 1982, I have absolutely loved and adored this movie from the moment I saw it at the Colonial Theater in downtown Laconia, New Hampshire, on a very warm June day in a theater that didn't have very good air conditioning.
Oh, 37 years ago. 37. I mean, I don't know why, but to me, that 37 years since it came out is more hard to comprehend than the 40th anniversary of TMP, which is this year. I don't know why, but it is. And similar to you, I saw The Wrath of Khan that June at the Brandt Theater in Nashua, which we have talked about before here on the show. And I got to say, I left that theater really pissed off.
What?
Yeah. I was crying, first of all. And there was somebody that I met at the theater who was a friend of mine from school or something like that. So we kind of sat next to each other while we were watching the movie. And of course, at the end, I'm tearing up and I'm sniffling. And as soon as the credits rolled, I bolted up and I just walked right out of the building like with a attitude. I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened.
Was it because Spock was dead? Spoiler alert.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Really, you were mad at that?
I was sad and mad at the same time. I was smad. Yeah. Because it was, back in the day we didn't have online, we didn't have anything, so we didn't have spoilers.
Right.
I had no idea this was going to happen. Actually, I take that back. I thought there was some discussion about that he was going to die, and I thought it was all a joke because of what happens in the Kobayashi Maru. We see him go down in that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's just what they were talking about. Funny. And then it really happened. And I was so upset.
Yeah, they kind of bait and switched us there because the word had leaked. Gene Roddenberry. Allegedly. And so they shot sort of the dummy intro or the dummy death, if you will. I got to say, that moment was not all that emotional for me when it happened. As much as I love Spock, I mean, Spock is Star Trek to me, but during that scene, I didn't cry. I was stunned when it happened. I walked out of that theater kind of dumbfounded, but I didn't cry. And that really kind of amazed me. Because as tied to Star Trek as I was, it just, maybe I was in shock. I don't know, but I definitely didn't have that reaction. But I guess I'm sad. I can understand. I'm surprised you were mad.
I remember vividly that, he's in the engineering chamber and he walks into the glass. So obviously he's blinded by the light.
You did.
Sorry. But the close up of Leonard during that scene, you can see that he's got radiation burns and his skin is flaking and that just, it started really, getting to me. And then when he just kind of half stood up to get his legs straightened out and then just sat down and slump against the glass. And Kirk gives that voice quivering no. That's what got it for me. And then the music. That's what really got it for me, was that part of it.
Oh my God. I watch it today and I bawl. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
James Horner's score throughout that whole scene, throughout the whole movie is fantastic, but that scene in particular just, totally gets you. Mm-hmm. And the other part that gets me is the third guy that's holding Shatner back in that scene.
Yes.
You've got Scotty on one arm, you got McCoy on the other one, and this unnamed guy, extra dude,
in his chest,
sort of comes in and spear tackles him and holds him across the midsection. And part of me wants to believe that they had to do that because Shatner was just so filled with emotion doing the scene. But that's what always got me about that scene. It wasn't Scotty, it wasn't Bones, it was the third dude.
You know what gets me about that particular part of that scene?
What's that?
He's holding Kirk back and you just see Kirk realize what's about to happen and you see the weight and he puts his hand down on that Starfleet officer to tell him, okay, you can get up or you can stop holding me back. That's a powerful moment. Really powerful.
It really is. People like to dog Shatner for overacting. And we've all done it before, I understand. But there are moments where he truly is exceptional, and they're greater than the times where people bust him for overacting. And that scene in particular in Star Trek II is probably one of his greatest moments as Kirk, because it's truly one of the few times that Captain James T. Kirk has felt loss.
Yeah. And you know what? I kind of will also say that Shatner, it may have been coming from Shatner himself, not acting. I mean, here's the death of this person that he's had as a character on the show that made him famous, and he's going to have a death scene with him. But I'll tell you what, even with that being said, nobody can go down a ladder without using the rungs better than that guy.
How did I know you were going to go there? I just knew it.
There's so much in that one scene. We could spend the whole episode talking about that one scene in engineering, from Scotty with the "he's dead already," just the punch to the gut with that. He had to say that, otherwise, who knows what? Because Kirk wouldn't have stopped.
Well, no, because it truly does slap Kirk right in the face.
That's when he gives that hand gesture to the officer. Yeah.
Kirk is met with the truth, and Scotty just doesn't pull any punches because it's the only way Kirk is going to understand.
Yeah.
Your best friend is dead.
Yeah.
He may not be yet, but he's dead. And that's just a sobering moment, because as Star Trek fans, especially who didn't see that coming, we all kind of got slapped in the face at that very same time.
Well, that's why I left the theater, misty eyed and angry as I walk. I can remember walking up that ramp. I just grabbed my, if I had a drink or whatever I had, and I just grabbed it out of the cup holder in the seat. I didn't even say goodbye to the guy that I was sitting next to. I just got up and left. I was just like, oh my God, I cannot even believe this. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think of now, in the last year, I have seen Star Trek II. Sorry, in the last 2 years, I have seen Star Trek II in theaters twice.
Nice. I haven't seen it in theaters at all.
Once for the 35th anniversary. It was playing at the theater that's right behind where we work.
Okay.
And I went down and I saw it because it was the 35th anniversary showing, and there was an interview between Scott Mantz and Leonard Nimoy. William Shatner. That's a horrible mistake to make. I apologize.
That's all right. No, that's okay.
Between Shatner and Mantz, which was interesting. I mean, it's pretty much all the same stuff Shatner had always said, but man, that movie looked good on the big screen. And then the year after that, last summer, I saw it at the Capitol Theater in Concord, New Hampshire, when Shatner was on his tour doing screenings. And I think you were at Disney at that point too.
I was at Disney. Yeah, I was going to say that's why I didn't get to go. Yeah.
I went with Matt McGonigal. John Krikorian was there. It was a fantastic time, and it just further reinforced for me that Shatner's still never seen that movie. And he talked about everything but Star Trek 2, which was kind of a letdown. But I mean, how can you talk about a movie you've never seen?
Isn't that funny that not only that he talked about a movie that he hasn't seen, that a lot of Hollywood people don't watch themselves. I remember we were talking about Picard in the news segment. When he came out on STLV, he talked about that recently he has watched episodes of The Next Generation that he had never seen before, is how he put it. And it's like, really? And of course, Shatner's had 37 years to watch Wrath of Khan, and he hasn't watched it yet. So that's weird.
No, I guess I'm not surprised. I mean, especially there are so many emotional moments in that movie, and that's not excusing the fact that he's not watched it. I mean, he's Shatner. Shatner going to do what Shatner does. But I part of me was kind of hoping that he had gone back to watch, his friend's most amazing performance.
Yeah.
Because Leonard truly is just perfection personified in that movie.
Everything about Leonard I love in that. I mean, we get to see the Monster Maroons for the first time, of course.
Yeah,
are fantastic. And I don't think, and I say this in all seriousness, I don't think anybody wore that uniform better than Leonard.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Shatner's a little bigger in Star Trek 2. So he fills out the uniform a little bit more, but Spock is, the tall, slender Vulcan, and that uniform with the way that white collar fit around his neck, and we get to see some of those new insignia that they had on those uniforms. I always will love how he looked in those Monster Maroons in the beginning of the movie.
Because they look like something more than space pajamas.
Absolutely. Which we saw on Star Trek 1.
Yeah, well, no, I'm talking about the original series.
Oh, that too, yeah.
I think they just got better pajamas in the motion picture. But those Monster Maroons just looked totally killer. I mean, the first time I saw one, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And the thing that folds down in the front.
Yeah, so the front flap that folds down.
Awesome. Yeah.
So many interesting design choices in that movie, from the uniforms to the change in the lighting on the Enterprise, which I thought was really good. It looked less sterile.
Right.
It looked like a ship that people actually lived on.
Sure.
It looked a little more, homey's not the right word, but it looked lived like it. In. Yeah, it did look lived in. It didn't look like it just came out of dry dock. Mm-hmm. I love so much the visuals created by Nick Meyer and his team, the director of photography and all that stuff, because I really think that changing the look of Star Trek at that point went a long way to selling the credibility of this story.
Right. One of the things that I also liked about it is in this nowadays when we talk about Discovery, a lot of the special effects are absolutely outstanding, but they're special effects. The ship is a special effect. It's not a model. To my knowledge, it's not. But in Star Trek 2, they still use the real models. And when the Enterprise is being shown, or the Reliant, or Regular One for that matter, even the space station, it just has a look of reality to it that you don't always get with the special effects we see today. And that's something I really, really appreciate also, especially the Reliant, because of the way that ship is constructed, and it has the beams where the impulse engine is located and stuff like that, kind of like like roll bars, so to kind of. I just have always really appreciated that aspect of it.
I think one of the areas where that's most prominent is the Battle of the Mutara Nebula.
So great.
For me, as far as Star Trek went, that was a total game changer. Mm-hmm. Before in Star Trek, we used to see a stationary ship fighting another stationary ship, and they would all shoot things at each other from across the vacuum of space, and nobody would move.
Right.
Because, in TV in the 60s, you didn't have the budget to do that. That's really all you could achieve. Mm-hmm. This kind of showed space combat a lot differently. And it showed some, shall I say, three-dimensional thinking.
I see what you did there. Very nice. Yeah. The one thing that, and you're going to probably laugh because I got this wrong for so many years, which is hard to believe with Star Trek trivia. But that one scene with the and the ship hull comes up over the other one.
Yeah.
For so many years, I thought it was the other way around.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And only, I think, gosh, maybe only within the last couple of years when we got the special director's cut DVD and I was watching it, I'm like, wait a minute, so yeah, maybe because I concentrate on the music and Khan and everything so much during that scene that I never really stopped to look at the ship going over the hull and realize that it was completely opposite of what for 30 years I thought it was. So there you go.
No, that's fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how our mind plays tricks on us, and makes us see things we believe are there that actually aren't. Although now I can't help but see the film strip canisters on the Reliant Bridge. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't think I do.
So in the shot in the movie where Khan says, "He tasks me," on the wall of the bridge, which you can see over his shoulder, there's a film strip canister. You remember the old film strip things that would unfold? You get like 4 cassette tapes and 4 round holes that the film strips would go in. Yep. They took one of those, painted it, slapped it on the wall, and it looks like a panel.
I'm never going to be able to not see it.
See, that's somebody pointed out to me, and now I can't unsee that.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So we're kind of skipping all over the place just because this is kind of a free-form discussion, and with Wrath of Khan, there's really no way you can do that.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
You know, but saying that instantly makes me think of Ricardo Montalban.
Mm-hmm.
This movie doesn't work without him.
You know, if you think to the original series and what they could have made a sequel about, of course, you know, we have 37 years of bias on our side, but nothing works but Khan and what happened after they got to Ceti Alpha 5. I mean, it's just so great. And you're right. It can't work without Ricardo Montalban. And watching it, I was very excited because I was a big Fantasy Island fan, and that's what I knew him from. So to see him doing this, even though I had seen Space Seed, which I'll be honest with you, until Star Trek II came out, I was not a huge fan of that episode. I really started watching it a lot more when we heard that it was going to be about Khan. But before then, it was one of those ones like, whatever. It's some Spanish guy playing somebody who's supposed to be from India. I really don't get that.
So I have to confess something. Prior to seeing Wrath of Khan, I had never seen Space Seed.
Wow.
Until the week before I saw Wrath of Khan.
That's amazing.
So there was this syndicated Star Trek episode countdown, which was partly hosted by Leonard Nimoy, and I think it ran on Channel 56 in Boston and also WPIX 11 out of New York City. And essentially it was Leonard hosting like the top 10 episodes as voted by some fans somewhere. And all of it was really just to promote Wrath of Khan coming up because the number one was going to be Space Seed no matter what, I think. If it wasn't number one, it was pretty close to the top. And he starts talking about how this is the inspiration for the Wrath of Khan movie, and the Wrath of Khan is really kind of a sequel. I'm like, I had no idea, because in the 8 years or so I've been watching Star Trek at that point, I had never seen Space Seed because I just missed it in syndication.
Interesting.
So I kind of got brand new Star Trek that week. And then the next weekend when my mom took me to the movie, I got to see the episode. It was all fresh in my mind and it was fantastic. Space Seed to this day remains one of my like top 5 TOS episodes of all time.
I love it now. I just remember back then, before then, I hadn't seen it a lot, but it was just one of those ones that I really don't care about this one. He's kind of a weird guy. He's throwing the women around, and then Kirk is beating him with the pipe that he took out of the engine room wall. I really didn't understand what was going on. But I'll tell you what, Ricardo was great in so many things that he did. I would have to argue with anyone who says that there was a performance better than what he did in this.
There isn't.
I don't think there is. No.
He puts on a tour de force. I mean, it truly is a clinic on how to be the best villain of all time. Mm-hmm. It's different. He just doesn't show up and is in a movie. He truly puts on a stage-worthy performance.
Yeah.
You know, he is a very Shakespearean villain in some sense. And, he's not chewing scenery. He is just owning every scene he's in. And he's magical. I marvel at his performance in Wrath of Khan. Well, and Space Seed too, but in Wrath of Khan in particular, every time I watch it, and I've seen this movie, 100 times?
Yeah, it really is amazing. The other thing that's amazing is he and Shatner never had a scene together. You see him on the view screen,
yeah,
Kirk, but they never had a face-to-face or physical interaction with each other. And it's really something that's amazing when you think about all that happens in that movie. They never actually, meet. It
blows my mind.
Yeah.
In 1985, I'm pretty sure it was 85, when Wrath of Khan was first broadcast on ABC television, it was Sunday night at the movies, we had our first VHS machine. And so I went out and I bought a blank tape specifically for Wrath of Khan, and I set it to the 2-hour mode, and I sat there like a ninja, and I recorded the movie off TV, and I paused for every commercial break. But every time I paused, the counter would click back like 1 or 2 numbers because it was a digital counter. So I would have to stop, play, play it 2 past where I wanted to stop it again, hit stop so it would count back to the right spot, and then hit record and play and pause, all before the movie started again.
That's dedication, baby.
This is a pain that kids today just don't know.
No, that's right. Yeah, those old style VHS machines. Yeah, absolutely. And when was it that showing on ABC where they threw in new footage that we did not see in the theater?
Yeah, Nick Meyer, in creating the edit for ABC, put in the blindness of Tiberian Bat scene, and a couple of other ones that made it in, or mostly made it into the director's DVD.
Yeah,
Blu-ray.
I think the elevator scene with Savick was either a reshoot or had added stuff to it also, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
But for the longest time, that was the version of Wrath of Khan I watched until I wore that VHS tape out. I mean, I bought a copy of Wrath of Khan on VHS when it came out. It cost me $40.
Yeah.
And I wore that out too. And then I bought a special collector's edition VHS, which cost me $18.99 back in those days.
Right.
And so at one point I had 3 copies of Wrath of Khan, 2 of which were worn out. If I have to think about it today, I think I still own 3 or 4 copies of Wrath of Khan.
And that's nothing wrong with that. I don't, but hey, and I worked in a video store for 20 something years back in those days. And I remember when First Contact came out, which was in the later 90s, that movie retail when it came out was like $89 on VHS. So those are pretty good prices you got for those movies. So don't ever get rid of those.
Well, I don't have the VHS copies anymore. I wish I did. But even then, I played the hell out of them to the point where, the boxes were falling apart. The tape looks like it had been through the ringer. When I bought my first copy on DVD, it was like, you play a C major chord and a light from heaven shone down. And now I own it I have 1 copy on DVD. Actually, I have 2 copies on DVD. I have a standard one on Blu-ray, and I have the director's on Blu-ray. So I have actually 4 copies of Wrath of Khan.
The original one that you had on VHS, did it have that awesome promotional picture of Ricardo as Montalban as Khan with the 2 women on either side of him?
No.
I always loved that picture of him from that movie.
No, I had one that looked like the movie poster. The original movie poster, the lobby one that had the images around the edge. And then the second one I had a black cover. I think it was like an anniversary edition, and it had a shot of Kirk and Spock and McCoy in Kirk's quarters getting ready to view the Genesis tape.
Oh, okay.
And of course my recorded off VHS, my VHS recorded off TV version. ABC
Sunday at the movies.
Do you recall the first time you watched it on home video?
I don't. I'm sure it was something that I was very excited about because, home movies or taking movies to watch at home, video stores, that was kind of the rage right around then is when that really started being, Remain Dunstable Video, where I worked in Nashville for so many years, that had just come out. They just opened right around that time frame. So I don't remember it. I'm sure it was something I was really excited for. And probably the whole family sat around the TV to watch that when it first came out.
It was the movie that taught me that I could actually collect these movies. Yeah. And it actually started my video collection when I realized I could buy one. I mean, like you said, $40 at the time was cheap for VHS, but it wasn't cheap
Right.
in 1984 dollars. So I still remain very joyful that I started my movie collection with that movie, and it's something I'll always remember. That's for sure.
I bet you we still have it in storage somewhere, but my dad is a gadget freak. He loves to have the newest toys and gadgets. And back in the day, when VHS was around for a while, laser discs came out.
Yeah.
And we had a laser disc for Star Trek 2. Of course, laser disc did not last very long, but I bet you I still have that somewhere in storage. No way to play it, but you know.
I bet you. I'm pretty sure you can find a Laserdisc player somewhere.
So let me ask you this, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there anything about this movie that you don't like?
It's really minor things, and we talked about it a bit when we did our Wreath of Khan episodes with Larry Nemechek and Ken Ray. Mm-hmm. It's Shatner's delivery on one line. It's go ahead.
Don't mince Bones' words.
Don't mince Bones' words.
Thank you. Yeah, don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
Yeah, and he says it like he's really fretting over it, when really I think the line should be delivered sarcastically, because Bones is just letting him have it.
Yeah.
And it should be more like, yeah, don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think? And I've always thought that Shatner blew the delivery on that line. Now, granted, I'm not an actor. I wasn't there. I wasn't told, what direction Shatner was given that day. It's just, that's the way that scene strikes me.
Yeah.
Because I think it would have been slightly humorous. Mm-hmm. He knows that Bones is right. And what better way to answer that with just a slight bit of sarcasm, like he used to with Bones.
Sure. No, I can understand that. I never really thought of that line like that until you told me about that, or when we talked about it on the podcast, and now it totally makes sense. And I can appreciate that. This might surprise you a little bit.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing about the movie that I've never really liked, it's David.
The introduction of the character, or the writing of what he does in the movie? Okay.
Both. I've never been a fan of the fact that, oh my God, Kirk has a son. They can't do that in Star Trek. That would be like introducing a half-brother of Spock's, or a stepsister, maybe. That is not possible. But they bring in this person. All of a sudden, Kirk has a son, and we're like, what are you talking about? And I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't a big David fan. I like that he sacrificed himself in Star Trek 3, spoiler alert, but it was never a big thing. And the awkwardness between David and Kirk at the end, when Kirk hugs him and he's like Sheldon, he's like, they're there. He's patting him on the back.
A two-pat hug. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the only thing that I really, and it's not that I dislike it or hate it. It's just not one of my favorite things about the movie.
It's interesting you bring that up, because, some people, a very small minority of people, are very up in arms over the fact that Michael Burnham in Star Trek Discovery is Spock's foster sister, and they were raised as siblings. Mm-hmm. But I can remember in 1982 and 1983 reading things in, like, I don't know, fanzines and Starlog about how people were annoyed that Kirk had a son, because Kirk doesn't have a son.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember some of the uproar from fans that I knew, who were older. I remember people talking about it, in the theater lobby after the movie, it was not a popular decision. So at least with some of the fans that I knew, I'm not saying, all fans, but kind of like the Michael Burnham thing, people just did not like this dimension of the character. I thought it was actually pretty fabulous, because you figure at some point this had to happen to Kirk. Well, that's just my 2 cents.
See, I don't think that it's something that we figured had to happen to him. He always talked about how he had to be alone because he was the captain, and he in season 3 of TOS he was made out to be the swashbuckling ladies' man. So it was kind of a shock to see that he actually had a child with someone, and that there was serious discussion about what they were going to do and how they were going to raise him. And they decided that she would raise him and he would stay away, and obviously they didn't see each other for a long time, and here we are. You've got a grown-up son there, Kirky.
That was the part that always got me in that scene in the Genesis cave, or just outside the Genesis cave. Chekhov's laying there pretending not to listen with the gauze on his ear, and Kirk goes, "I did what you wanted. I stayed away." And it's like, oh wait, he's known all this time.
Yeah,
this isn't a surprise. Like, Happy Father's Day.
Is that David?
Yeah. It's that blew my mind even at that age, because I mean, this was Kirk. This is my boyhood hero, and he's got a son.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
You're paying child support, pal.
Well, remember, the economics of the future are somewhat advanced.
Oh, that's true. I guess.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's. We were talking about it for a moment. Is the battle at the Mutara Nebula?
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me back up, because before we get to the battle, one of the things that I love before all the action starts is we kind of have a callback to the wonderful Enterprise music scene in TMP, where Scotty's taking Kirk over in the shuttlecraft, and we have that wonderful, I think, 10-minute score of seeing the Enterprise at all angles. We kind of get that here in a not dumbed down version, but a smaller version of that when they're leaving space dock, with some great musical fanfare and Savick and all that. I think that was a great scene. It's one of my favorite parts of the score of this movie is when Enterprise leaves space dock and it's lighting up and heading out. I love that.
No, I have to agree with you. There's so many just gorgeous shots of the Enterprise in this movie.
Yeah,
I love the scene where it's pulling up to the regular space station, and you hear it slow down, like, and just that shot from the side is just it's gorgeous.
It is.
But it goes back to the model work you were talking about, and how with CGI. I mean, CGI looks awesome. They can do things with CGI they couldn't do, back in the day, because that technology just didn't exist. But man, there is something to be said for physical models,
right?
And those things are just gorgeous. It's part of the reason why I think I love the Enterprise refit so much, is because that model, the way they shot it and the way they lit it, in the films, just commanded the screen. I'll always love the TOS Enterprise. It always holds a special place in my heart. I mean, it sits here on my desk every day, but just the look of that movie Enterprise just really just tugs on my heartstrings.
I think one of what you just said is really what I like the most about it, is the lighting. There's like spotlights shining down the hull, so you can see that United Federation of Planets in red, or even on the warp engines where you can see some of the lettering for the ship. I think it looks fantastic. But getting to the battle, another, these physical models, when you're seeing the phaser bursts of the Reliant. How dare they? Where are the beams? But when it's hitting the Enterprise, especially in the secondary hull, that physically hurts me. Seeing scenes like that, it's just, it's so amazing.
Dude, that rocked my world. I used to go back and rewind that scene just to watch the Reliant attacking the Enterprise over and over and over on VHS. Where Kirk gets the call right after watching the Genesis tape. That's one of ours. It's the Reliant.
You know what? It's one of the most serious scenes of the movie, but it's also the funniest. It's because, and I'm going to be probably a little loud. I'll back away a little bit. But when they show the Enterprise gimbals going back, and then you see a guy go across the bridge, that's like the funniest thing in the whole movie. I just love that.
You mean the guy who sort of spontaneously combusts in a way?
Sorry.
No, I love that scene because the tension of that scene, and just the way that that entire segment is constructed, from the start of the Reliant attack to when Kirk outfoxes Khan, is just, it is movie perfection, man. I rewatch that thing and I really have a hard time trying to find anything wrong with it, because I'm so captivated every single time. I mean, that's what a good movie does.
You see the difference between somebody who is a leader of people with vengeance on his mind, and somebody who is a captain and knows how to think through a situation. And that's the perfect example of that. What he does with Khan, you talk about it before, the Z minus 10,000 meters and how they handle all of that is great. The other thing I like about that is when they're looking sharp to see what's going on for the view screen, and you get that quick glimpse of the Reliant coming straight at him, and Kirk goes, evasive starboard. He turns his chair to like help. Like, here's the starboard. Yeah, that way. Another great acting moment from from Shatner that he probably didn't realize he was doing, but it just looks perfect on camera.
It really does. That whole segment, that first attack on the Enterprise by the Reliant is probably some of my favorite scenes in the movie. I watch it from start to finish, from the point where Kirk gets called to the bridge to the point where Scotty walks in with young Peter Preston. Mm-hmm. It is just riveting, and I get lost in it every single time. It's just it's amazing. The scope of that movie. You see things affect our crew. You see the toll that this takes. You see, sickbay lined with people, and how that weighs on McCoy. And you see, Scotty's nephew lying there on the slab, and McCoy pulls the sheet over, and he says, "I'm sorry, Scotty." And it just totally gut wrenching. It totally just yanks your heart out, throws it on the floor, and stomps on it. There is just so much that happens here for so many of the characters, and it is all just exquisite to watch.
And you never saw that before on TOS. When somebody died, you didn't see the reaction, you didn't see the emotion, like with Scotty losing his nephew and all that. And we didn't see anything like that even in TMP. This was the first time that we really got to share the heartfelt emotions of this crew in ways that we had never seen before. And I thought that was always a good thing.
This is the very first of the super bad guys in Star Trek movies.
Right.
And it was the one that came first, and it was the one that was done the best. It's the one that we use as the yardstick, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't get any better than Ricardo Montalban as Khan, much as people want it to. Right. Krug in Star Trek 3, not going to happen. Star Trek 5, whether you pick Sybok or Kla, not going to happen. Chang in Star Trek 6, it's close. It's close, but it's really there's just no comparison. Chris Plummer is fantastic, mm-hmm. but Ricardo Montalban is just majestic on the screen.
Right.
I feel like a gushing fanboy every time I talk about Star Trek II because I absolutely adore the film. Now, it's only recently that I felt like I've been able to watch it again, going back to the whole Leonard factor, mm-hmm. because after he died for a good year and a half. 2 years, I couldn't, probably a year and a half, I couldn't watch the movie.
Yeah.
I was far too emotional because I couldn't separate Spock from Leonard. I still have a hard time with it now, but I couldn't do it.
Oh, I totally understand that. I mean, you and I used to talk about that you hadn't been able to watch it. And it was really a big thing for you when you did finally pick up that director's cut and watched it for the first time in a long time. And I totally understand where you're coming from. Not on the same level, of course, but I want to throw out a special commendation, so to speak, to take the Discovery Trek to Captain Terrell, Paul Winfield.
Yeah,
he was absolutely awesome in that movie. I loved Captain Terrell. I wish that we had been able to see more of him, but of course, he takes the phaser to help save everyone else, but I thought he did a great job. And then of course we saw him in TNG, and he unfortunately passed away quite a while ago, I think. But I liked his character as well.
I gotta say, Kirstie Alley is fantastic in this movie too. This is the movie that introduced her to the world, really. And Saavik was a character that I really liked. I'm more of a Kirstie Alley Saavik than I am a Robin Curtis Saavik fan. Although Robin Curtis does a fine job, don't get me wrong, but Kirstie Alley was just sort of it. I thought the way she played the part was fantastic. And plus I thought she lined up very well against both Shatner and Nimoy, to be honest.
Right. And it's one of the funny scenes in the movie, but she looked fantastic with her hair down in that turbolith scene. I really like the mixing. If you read the novel that we talked about a little bit, she's got a little Romulan in her blood.
Right.
So she's more emotional than a regular Vulcan. But I am a much bigger Kirstie Alley Saavik fan than Robin Curtis. Unfortunately, because of TNG, I think of Robin Curtis more as the Romulan from that episode with the Vulcan thing.
Yeah. She changed her hair?
I hadn't noticed.
You and I should sit together and watch Wrath of Khan at some point and just do a commentary track. And you know what it would be? Us quoting the entire movie.
Wonderful stuff, that Romulan ale.
All right, buddy. Well, we could probably go on and on and on for hours, which I'm sure people would actually listen to. But closing thoughts on Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
I wish that a lot of the people that had been involved in it were still around now that I'm going to STLV and stuff like that, so that I can thank them for what they gave us with that movie. That one changed it all, guys. And it's one that Ricardo Montalban is just so unbelievable in that movie. It's probably will be one of my all-time favorite performances in any movie because of what he brings to that. I love the outfit he wears, the broken Starfleet pendant. There's always been debate for 37 years as to whether that was really his chest or a fake one that he always said was his. But I just love it. I love the movie. I love everything about it except the David part, which we went about. But I'll even give that an okay.
Well, even Nick Meyer says that that's really Ricardo Montalban's chest.
The guy was ripped.
Well, he did push-ups like all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Jack Palance.
Can you imagine Jack Palance as Khan? The answer is no.
I won't even attempt to do an impersonation of that.
Every time I think of Khan, you know what words come to mind?
What's that?
With only the contents of these cargo bays to sustain us.
You lie. On Ceti Alpha 5, there was life. A fair chance.
This is Ceti Alpha 5.
His head shakes and everything's like,
oh, he's furious. Yeah. Anyway, gosh, we could keep going down these rat holes all day, man.
Did you say rat hole?
Yeah, rat hole.
Oh, I thought it was a rabbit hole.
That's different.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is the pinnacle. It's the reason why it's considered the best still after all this time. Mm-hmm. Other movies are fantastic, don't get me wrong, but Star Trek II is the gold standard of Star Trek movies. And it's amazing, created by somebody or filmed by somebody who wasn't a Star Trek fan. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Dan, you know who are a bunch of big Star Trek fans? That's our friends, the band 5 Year Mission. They provide all of the music for this here podcast, and we couldn't be more grateful to them for allowing us to do it. We want everyone to head on to 5yearmission.net. Please go get all their albums. You know, it's one thing to listen to them streaming online, but let's support the band. Let's show them that we love them. Let's go buy all those CDs or digital downloads and get those in your music libraries and on your iPods because the music is just fantastic, Dan.
It is fantastic. There's so many albums, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. They're going to be coming out with year 5, Spock's Brain, Trouble with Tribbles. That's a lot of Star Trek music. And as Bill likes to point out every week, it's not just whatever music. There are stories behind this music. There's thought into them, and you will love them. So check them out. One of the things I also like to check out, Bill, every week, as I always do, is I usually watch a special episode, and I did watch one this week too, even though we were doing Star Trek 2. It's actually one of my favorite episodes of Deep Space Nine, and you might remember this one. It's the one where Bashir and O'Brien crash on a planet and are then captured by the Jem'Hadar.
I've seen it. Yeah.
There's one Jem'Hadar that's not addicted to Ketracel White.
Yes.
It's a great story about how a doctor's Hippocratic oath is to help all people, not just allies. And that's probably why the episode is called Hippocratic Oath. I'm just saying. But anyway, I digress. I just love that lead Jem'Hadar. He was bred to serve the founders and be the best drummer he could be. And without the addiction of that white, he could become the greatest in all of the Dominion. That first line he spoke as his team unshrouded, "Do not move. You are prisoners of the Jem'Hadar." His name, of course, Bill, was Garanifark. I just want to throw that out there. I didn't realize that the first time I watched it. Garanifark, you okay? Hello?
You're going to throw it out there. Could you throw it out there on a trash bin? That was just terrible.
All right, how about this one? Reliance Prefarx code is 16309.
That's slightly better, but still mostly painful.
Okay, that's all I got.
Oh, thank God, because you're killing us all. But that's 5yearmission.net. Go get all their albums, please. Of course, now don't forget you can support the Trek Geeks Network of podcasts by subscribing to exclusive bonus content via Patreon. We're very excited about this. You're going to get content you can't get anywhere else. Plus, you can see the first of our annual supporters pins from Fansets, and you can even get raw, unedited audio of all of our podcasts, along with a whole bunch of other perks, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to take a moment now to thank our associate producers for Trek Geeks. We are very grateful for their support. And they include Adam Sanders, Brandon Everidge, Heather Sohn, John Krikorian, Peter Craig, Rick Tatro, Trey Womack, Shane Murray, Sean Lynn, Tim Robertson, Tim Serdar, Vikram Bhatt, Greg Rosier, and the beautiful and gracious and previously aforementioned Andy Fark.
Is previously aforementioned, is that kind of like a double, like a, previous and aforementioned kind of being the same thing?
Last time on Trek Geeks, your independent podcast.
You skip. Oh, so you're just skipping over me now. Okay. We also want to thank our producers of the Trek Geeks podcast for their support. We're grateful to them as well. They are Ken Tripp, Casey Shafsky, Charlie Mulvey, Chris Tribuzio, Craig Ewing, Eric Extreme, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Leonel Marchand, Matt McGonigal, Mike Bovia, Harry Michelson, Norman Lau, Patrick Escudero, Sean O'Halloran, and of course, the lovely and talented Scott Vachon.
Now, if you'd like to become a producer on the network or even get access to the raw audio for Trek Geeks episodes, like Bill mentioned a moment ago, head right on over to patreon.com/Trek Geeks today, where subscription levels start as low as $1 a month. Bill?
Next week, Dan, you're going to be headed to the happiest place on earth again. Jerk. So we thought we'd have just a short conversation next week, but it's going to tie into Disney at least a little bit.
Yes, it is. And, that's what I love about you, man. You come up with ways to tie in my two favorite things, Star Trek and Disney. So, yeah, next week I'm going to be headed to Mouseville, and I don't mean the one from the Green Mile. I'm going to put that right out there. We're going to have a discussion on something I thought of recently. What would you do if you were given full range to create your very own version of Disney World or Universal Studios or whatever, but all Star Trek themed? This is going to be fun. So, Bill, do you want to build a theme park?
No.
Okay, well, that's next week on Trek Geeks, the flagship of the Trek Geeks podcast network.
This is a conversation we're excited to bring to you. It's actually one of our carpool conversations that we had for our Patreon supporters a couple of weeks ago, and we're just going to bring you a little taste of what we talk about. And we figured it's a fun conversation, and why not share it with you all the week that Dan goes to Disney again. It's a shame he's not excited about that. I know I am, because he won't be here. Dan, of course, for more great Star Trek podcasts, we want everyone to check out the Tricorder Transmissions online at thetricordertransmissions.com. And of course, for all the news on all the Star Trek please visit our great friends at treknews.net. For now, this has been episode number 176 of the Trek Geeks podcast. We do hope you all live long and prosper.
I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead coconut, buried alive, buried alive.
I'd love to bury you alive.
I thought you would throw in the con. You are so disappointing.
Music for Trek Geeks is provided by 5 Year Mission. They are writing one song for each episode of the original series. Download their music at 5yearmission.net. Trek Geeks, a Star Trek podcast, is a production of Coconut Media Works, executive producer Bill Smith. For even more Star Trek discussion, check out Discovering Trek, a Star Trek Discovery companion, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and discoveringtrek.com.
Bing bong! Hey, buddy.
What are they called? They're called younglings, right? In Star Wars, so they're Patreonings. No,
we're bing bonging it now, though.
Oh, we already started.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a joke.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start.
No.
All right, I'll be quiet now.
No, we already started. Hey, buddy.
Hi. That's a great outtake for an outtake.
Yeah, no, it really is. And we're live.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fantastic. So we actually, before we do the outtake, we do the special bit for the Patreon listeners. So if you're not a Patreon subscriber, you can go to patreon.com/Trek Geeks and subscribe if you want for as little as I think $2 a month at that level.
So. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, look at you plugging stuff right off the get go.
Hey, if people want access, it's best to tell them how.
It's fantastic. You're not just good looks. You got brains too.
Yeah, that's true. I'm the whole package.
Yeah. Anyway.
So you're going to be getting psyched. Disney's a week from today for you?
Yeah. At 1 week from right now, I will be officially on vacation, getting ready for our flight tomorrow morning and a week from tomorrow.
So I can see your coherency packed up and left town and well before that.
When I get to, you think I'm bad here on the podcast?
I know you're bad here on the podcast.
You have no idea what it's like when I'm in Disney. It is like a running joke with my wife because I am completely oblivious to almost everybody talking to me when I'm down there because I'm just like, look.
I hate to break this to you. You're the same way at Star Trek Las Vegas.
It's because, it's a little different there. It's because I'm just so, trying to shut you out. So I just shut everybody out.
That's a lot of crap, and you know it.
Yeah, I think when there's a lot of external stimuli coming at me, I can't. I like shut off some of my senses, like my hearing.
Huh?
What?
Chicken butt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited. Looking forward to it. The weather looks like it's going to be fantastic down there next week. So yeah.
Now, are there any of the parks you're not going to while you're in Disney?
No, we always go to all.
You always hit them all?
But at this point, because we've got annual passes and we've been so many times, we'll go to Epcot and just do 2 rides and then go and then leave. Or we'll go to Animal Kingdom and we'll do Expedition Everest and then we'll go do something else. We don't stay there the whole day at all anymore. We don't do that.
So you kind of park hop? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, park hop, and then we'll just go to downtown Disney and go to one of the bars and have a drink.
Oh, nice.
And then at 9:30 in the morning, we'll go do something else.
And it's Disney Springs now, is that right?
It is Disney Springs. I'll always call it downtown Disney, I think.
Well, I still try to keep from calling it Pleasure Island.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Disney Springs now. They wanted to turn it more into I don't know what the hell to call it.
An old West town?
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, and we're staying at Bay Lake this time, so yeah, we're pretty excited. Bay Lake is a walking distance to Magic Kingdom. It's right out the door, across the parking lot, and there you go. You're right there.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's really cool.
Yeah, we like that. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Other than that, no strong feelings on the matter.
While we're there, it will be Star Wars Day. May the 4th is that Saturday. So,
oh, I'm sorry.
We will be staying away from Hollywood Studios on Saturday, the 4th.
I don't mind Star Wars. I loved it as a kid, but I would just like to point out that we Star Trek fans don't need a day that's a pun to celebrate Star Trek.
I know, right?
We have First Contact Day.
That's right.
We have the day Star Trek premiered. We actually got a couple days on the calendar.
True.
May the 4th be with you. That is the dumbest thing.
Wow. Tell us how you feel, Bill.
That's all right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What are you drinking there?
If I could drink anymore, golly. We got some sangria the other day, so I'm having some sangria. And it's from the La Belle Winery, actually. You know of that.
I do. I actually used to work with the proprietor of the La Belle Winery.
Yep, they came out with a sangria, and we were at the store the other day, and they had samples, and I tasted it, and immediately grabbed a bottle.
And you said...
And I went...
Interment will take place on Benicia.
It's so funny because he doesn't do that, but it fits the scene. It's like he's gnawing on Chekhov's arm. Interment will take place on Benicia.
That's the only way you can make Chekhov better.
Oh, wow.
It's still not a Chekhov fan.
I know.
I am drinking a Dunkin' Donuts iced blueberry coffee.
Is it decaf?
No.
Oh, you're going to be sleeping tonight. No, you're not.
Actually, caffeine doesn't really keep me wired and buzzed. I can drink coffee really much any time of the day. It does not keep me up half the night.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Excellent. I will tell you one thing. On Sunday. Sorry. We were driving around and we got some bagels for breakfast, and we stopped at Dunkin' Donuts, and I got one of those blueberry crisp lattes. I don't know if you've seen the commercials for that.
I have.
Okay. So, and Sue got her raspberry iced coffee, and let's just put it this way. That Dunkin' Donuts was right at the line of Bedford and Manchester.
Yeah, another one.
We were driving back towards Bedford where like the Canoe is, the Canoe restaurant. And I stopped at that Dunkin' Donuts, threw that out, and got a different iced coffee because it was horrendous.
Other than that, no strong feelings.
Oh my God, it was. I said to Sue, I said, they have to have people that like taste test this crap before they put it out, right? Because whoever said yes to this, I think was trying to make Dunkin' Donuts go out of business because it's awful. Yeah. I'm saying it right here. Yeah.
You clearly are. Are you ready to do this, you big jerk?
I am ready to do this, you big dummy.
Okay. Coconut.